Several minutes of commercial-free football starts now.
Here are the Purple Mortgage Guys.
Hey, welcome to Purple Mortgage Guys. My name is Brent, here with Goose and Tanner, and we're up for another episode here on the eve of the draft. Draft is tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central. Guys, we've done a lot of different episodes here on mocks and a lot of the different rumors that are going around, and there's some things flying again today. So we thought we'd do a quick rapid fire type of an episode where we squash a lot of the smoke screens and the false reports, Goose and Tanner, that are out there, and just try to give our opinions on that and see if we've got anyone out there that agrees or disagrees. Throw your comments in the chat. And if you've not yet subscribed to our channel, please do that. We do home loans during the day. We like to talk a little Vikings football on the nights and weekends, and obviously watch the Vikings in the fall. So draft is coming up tomorrow night. Goose, Tanner, there's been a lot of rumors swirling around. Some of it might be real. Some of it might be totally made up. But we wanted to get your thoughts, guys, on what you think on some of these things. So we're going to start with maybe the big one here as of late. And there's been a lot of steam on trading Daniil, trying to I guess, get what you can for him while he's still got a lot of value, seeing if you can make a haul on some draft picks and replenish that limited supply. So Tanner, I'm going to start with you on this one. Is that a real thing? Is Daniil going to be traded? And we're going to say, is he going to be traded in the next week? So this weekend over the draft. Is that going to happen? Yes or no? And a sentence or two at tops on why you think that will or won't happen.
I'm going to say no. And the reason I say that is actually up until recent, I actually found out that I think that it hurts the team more financially if they trade him before June 1st. So I'm going to say it's not going to happen.
Not going to happen. Goose?
Yeah, as much as I think you maybe have to do it for the compensation, I just don't see. I don't see it happening for some reason.
I'd heard today, I think it was the guys on Purple Daily that I think it was Judd was saying that it actually doesn't hurt as much as what it appears to. So I don't know how that all works, but I would actually love to see it happen. I think you could get a haul for him. I don't see it happening, so I'm gonna side with you guys. I don't think that's gonna happen, especially this weekend. The other big one that's been floating around: will Kirk Cousins waive his no trade clause and get traded to someone like San Francisco? And if it were to happen, probably does happen this weekend. Goose, I'm going to start with you on this one. Yes or no?
No. I think the most likely is the Niners with the Shanahan ties. I think they just have too much invested in the position right now. And in order for the Vikings to give up their real answer at quarterback, our asking price would just be too high. And I don't think the 49ers would be willing to do that.
Tanner, is that going to happen? Is there any truth to Kirk Cousins not being under center come September for the Vikings?
I feel like there is a chance. I think that there is a chance that could potentially happen. I don't think like my gut tells me it's not going to happen, but with the fire behind that, or the smoke, I should say, from the combine with the Trey Lance rumors, I think that there is more steam behind that than what fans maybe see right now. I don't think we should be able to expect anything this weekend, but I do think that if the Vikings do draft the QB in this draft, I think there's a good chance that Cousins could have one foot out the door and say, like, yeah, this team's already planning on moving on without me. So
do you think they have a plan for that? Or do you think it is see how the draft goes? If we can snag our guy, then we move him or try to move him? Or like they have some flexibility, I guess, with that. If it doesn't fall, if the board doesn't fall how they want it to, maybe they pivot and even try to extend them again. I don't know.
You're still just taking a huge gamble. I mean, this is a really talented QB class, but you're still taking a huge gamble if you pick one of the top QBs and project him to be the day one guy and then get rid of Kirk from that standpoint. So I don't see it happening, but I do think that we are closer and closer, and I could see it like even like before the season, I could see Kirk say that I'm open to doing that. Like a report would come out saying Kirk is willing to potentially move or open his no trade clause or waive it.
On that note, I think Kirk waiving his trade clause is like I think that's the least like resistance in making this happen. I think after not getting the extension he wanted, he would be open to it. I think it's more so of the Vikings maybe not being satisfied with what they're getting in return.
I'll put a nuance to that. I think if they get one of the top four, and I'll put the line right at Hendon Hooker. I think if they get Levis, Stroud, Richardson, or obviously Bryce Young, I think that could happen. I could see that happening. So I'll side with you on that one. I think you could see Cousins move before the season starts. So, guys, if we stay put at 23, there's some steam on Hendon Hooker. And there's talk of him being like a second-round guy, maybe falling further than most even think. And then you hear rumors of him rapidly moving up the draft board. So Hendon Hooker at 23, is there any chance that happens tomorrow night? Is that the guy at 23?
No.
Or I guess anywhere in the first round tomorrow night. Is he drafted tomorrow night by the Vikings? Yes.
I will drive to Minnesota and burn the facility to the ground if we draft Hendon Hooker at 23.
So you and Anthony Edwards are going to be in some legal trouble if that happens then tomorrow night.
Well, then I'll be going out with a bang.
Tanner, what would be your biggest fear about him if you had to pick number one? Is it age? Is it the injuries coming off of? Is it the offensive system he was in?
It's just a combination of things. It doesn't have any really thing to do with him specifically as a player. Like, I think he can be an okay QB in the league, but I don't see him as anything ever more than just a game manager. Like, he's Teddy Bridgewater to me. Like, he takes care of the ball. He has an okay arm. And, I mean, the age is kind of a bit of a concern, durability concerns. But that's a waste of a pick at 23, I feel like. I just feel like there's no value there, and I feel like you're reaching for a guy at that point.
So, Tanner, you do the deep dive, and I just, like, if it passes the eye test or not. And I remember watching the tape on Teddy, before they even drafted him. And I'm like, these highlights are all just him dumping the ball off and the receiver going 60 yards for a touchdown. And I feel the same way with Hooker. Like, it doesn't feel there's anything there that is wild.
And I know that I'm being too deep on this, but like, he wasn't asked to like be a full field reader at Tennessee. Like, it was a quick offense. They operated a quick offense. It was get rid of the ball as soon as possible and just let guys like Jalen Hyatt, who's a speedster, just take care of things from there. And I'm okay with him in like the third round, but not at 23. I will lose my mind if they reach for him at 23.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'll feel similar. Like, it would be a gut punch of it. To me, it would almost feel like when we took Christian Ponder. Like, when we took Ponder, I was starting to think like, okay, like he's shown some flashes, but to take him where we did, it was like, what are we doing? I think with Hendon, he can maybe learn some of those things. When he did have deep throws, it felt like it was to guys running wide open in their kind of crazy scheme. We talk about wide receivers and route running translating to the NFL. I feel like for quarterback, it's like anticipatory throws, tight window throws, and everything I saw of Hendon was just like someone with yards of separation, and you just don't get that in the NFL.
So, okay, while we're on quarterbacks, let's just knock a couple of three of the other ones out. Sounds like Bryce Young's a lock from what I saw to go number one. We're not even going to waste time on that. Tanner, if they trade up and they go for Will Levis, you're going to lose your mind on that as well. Let's say they've got to trade into the top 5, 6, 7 picks.
Yeah, don't trade in the top 10. I would not be very happy. We don't have any capital. If you want to maneuver a couple things around next year and move up to like 15, 17 to take a look at them, I'm not against that.
Okay. So your line of like driving to TCO and starting the place on fire is like the top 10?
Yeah, I might just throw some eggs at the building if they,
you might just like send an email or something if they go to like 11 or 10 and they go into the top 10.
May concern.
Strongly worded email.
He turns around in Shakopee. He changes his mind.
I'm just curious if they all go in the top 10 like everyone is mocking.
I don't think so.
Someone always falls.
I don't think so either. I don't think Levis is going to be a top 10 pick.
I'm going to say, just for the record, before I lose my train of thought, then I'll let you go, Goose. They trade into the top 10. The only one I want them trading into the top 10 for is Richardson.
Yes, let's go.
The upside. The one thing that I keep going back and forth on with Levis is he didn't play with a world of talent. He was in a very pro style offense. He's dealt with really poor O-line play, so he's probably of the quarterback class got the most experience in like a holy crap, like where am I going with the football? What's going on? And running that type of offense. That's the one thing. But then I forget which show it was, but someone was talking about name like a super bulked up quarterback that's been successful. And I was like, holy crap. Like, I have no idea. And they were like, Tim Tebow hasn't been successful. Brady Quinn wasn't successful. But outside of that, I was like, who else was just jacked? And I mean, Cam Newton was a big body, but he wasn't like a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Like Levis looks like.
He
So trading to the top,
bodybuilder?
trading up for we'll go Richardson, I guess. Yes or no? Is that going to happen?
No,
One word answer, Goose.
No.
they don't have the capital. They can't.
Luke Braun will blow up if it happens, though.
I saw Will Raggets was pretty excited about him today too. So
The
if
last
it's
like
good enough for
5
those guys, it's good enough for me.
the last like 5 tweets I've seen from Luke Braun are like, here's his like raw athletic score against this person, and here's his raw athletic score against, and it's nuts. Like, the guy's a freak of nature. But
Trading up for CJ Stroud, yes or no?
No.
no.
Did you see that competency test score that he had?
18%.
Yeah.
So not sure
good.
if you guys know, but so that's a percentile based off of other NFL.
Still not
Uh-oh.
good.
Oh, Goose, you cut out there for a second. That was weird.
Still not good. Just wanted to make it clear for anyone that maybe didn't know that it wasn't like 18% of human beings. But yeah, it's one, you already don't have the thing going for you where it's like Ohio State quarterbacks have never really worked out. I know some people really like Fields, but that you've got that stigma. He was hyped up his whole college career. I don't think he lived up to that expectation until this last playoff run. And so it's kind of, there's a lot of red flags for me, even though a lot of people say he's got a high floor.
So the way we've got about halfway through these, the way it's shaping up, it's going to be a pretty boring Thursday night for Vikings fans. They're going to probably stay put, not trade up, not draft a quarterback, or do you think there's going to be some movement?
I think they trade back.
Trade back, okay. Out of the first, or just back a handful of spots?
Yeah, they're right on the fringe of like, you don't want to go too far. Like I'm really under the impression Kwesi wants to make a pick on Thursday night, so I could see like 29-30. But if you have a team that like the Raiders in like the early second that have a lot of picks that can offer you a boatload of stuff to move up a spot, like I think you take that and maybe make your first pick on Friday instead. It's just tough to say.
What about Delvin Cook trade? Stuff's been bouncing around. Dolphins linked to the Dolphins today. Probably a post-draft type of transaction. Do you see any chance that Delvin gets traded this weekend?
Yes.
I'm going to say yes as well. Goose?
I feel good about that.
Gosh, and then just what? Pending physical, or he could pass a physical, or
I don't know. Is he going to get traded?
I just everything you saw his interview or the interview with Cook's agent.
Yeah, that
a
pissed
couple
me
weeks
off.
ago. There's just tons of like fire behind that, and I just feel like that is one trade on the team that's not going to surprise me at all if we see something this
Would
weekend.
that surprise you if it's announced tomorrow night?
It would surprise me. I think if a team gave up a draft pick and then I don't know what happens if we pick someone and the physical doesn't pass, or I think especially the Miami thing. I think the last 3 days, all I've seen is news being regurgitated, and it's the hot stories that everyone's trying to get for views. It's the Trey Lance, it's the Kirk Cousins, it's the Delvin to Miami. maybe it happens and maybe I'm missing something, but Miami signed Jeff Wilson, Raheem Mostert, Myles Gaskin, and then a big trade for Dalvin Cook. Just, I don't see it. And I think everyone's just going for the views. Not to say that Dalvin's going to be on the roster day one. I just don't know that with how many moving pieces and coming off the injury, I don't know that a team feels like they can do that in the rush of draft day.
I'm glad you brought up Trey Lance. Is there any chance that anything happens with that? We'll say tomorrow. This weekend.
That's an absolutely no for me.
Absolutely no.
You
Tanner,
barely
you're
get
shaking
any
your
of the
head.
benefit of the rookie contract, and
I'm
he's
not-
got question marks on
I'm
it.
not going to say absolutely no, but I am very not confident about that.
Okay.
Pretty sure nothing will happen there.
What are the odds we trade back? Tanner, you're seeing that pretty clearly.
I
80% chance?
I feel the best about that and that answer than any other question that you've asked me.
Goose?
Same.
I'm pretty confident they
Same. Okay. So expect to trade back. Okay. What do you think we actually, let's say we make a selection or we trade back and make a selection later in the first round or even in the second. What's that position most likely in your mind? Is it defense, offense? What actual position? Tanner?
I think it's Brent. I know you're always like one word answer, but it's either receiver or corner. It's the better player on the board at the time. So I feel like you look at the two positions. The guy that you have a better grade on is the guy that you select, whether that's corner or receiver, unless you have one specific position. Like I keep saying, like Elijah Cansey, like somebody that like there's probably a need at one of those spots. But if you have a guy that probably should have gone like top 15 that somehow slips to like middle of the first round and end of the first, I think that's something that wouldn't surprise me either. I mean, we've seen in the past, like Sharif Floyd is a name that comes to mind a lot. People that have fallen in the past that were supposed to be like top 10 picks that we took flyers on.
Okay. Goose?
I'm with Tanner on the preface of I think you got to take the best at either one of those two positions, and I'll predict that I think the best player at our first pick, hopefully late first, early second, is going to be a corner.
I have to interrupt you real quick. I don't know if my buddy Matt Randall is watching or not, but you just texted me. He asked me two questions. I don't know if you guys can see it. What are housing rates doing right now?
Okay.
And then he said, who are the Vikings going to take with their pick tomorrow? So
I would say, Goose, I was going to agree
that's our
with you.
specialty.
There you go. Home loans and Vikings football. You just keep getting those texts all day. You're a happy guy. I'm going to say they're going to do the same thing, Goose, but I see it being a receiver. I think there's going to be a Zay Flowers type on the board for us there. So
yeah, I just went against like my last like 3 mock drafts where I took wide receiver first.
You got to spread your chips around a little bit.
Yeah.
One name we haven't talked about really at all that I just want to bring up while we're still on air here. If the Vikings trade back to like 30 or 29, like end of the first, I expect the top 4 receivers to probably be gone at that point. But my number 5 guy, and I think this is probably a top 5 guy for a lot of people, and this name wouldn't surprise me, is Jalen Hyatt. So Hendon Hooker's a guy at Tennessee who is a field stretcher, and that's one guy that wouldn't surprise me tomorrow night either.
So to close out our little 12-pack here of questions, we're actually going to circle back and hit on the Aaron Rodgers trade to the Jets. If the Vikings were to trade Cousins, they're going to be able to command more or less than what Aaron Rodgers got, knowing that Rodgers maybe has a year or 2 left in the tank. And what do you guys think on that? Tanner, I'll start with you.
I think there's equal value there because I don't think that the gap between their production right now is that far. Goose is going to disagree with me. I think Aaron Rodgers is still the better quarterback, obviously, even at his age. But I don't think that gap is like super far apart. Like Kirk Cousins is right there with him. And he has age on his side. He is a little bit younger. So you can still get, I think, like another 3 or 4 like solid years out of Kirk Cousins, where I don't know if you can get that out of Aaron Rodgers. So I think you could probably get equal compensation for him.
Goose?
Tanner nailed it. He answered for both of us. I'd pay more for Kirk Cousins than I would for Aaron Rodgers.
You would? Okay.
Yeah. The antics, the age, the hit and miss production over the last season, I'd take Kirk.
So, based on everything we talked about tomorrow night, is there going to be any Vikings related announcements, anything the first couple hours of the draft? Or is it all going to come and go and trade
if there's any movement, I think it's when they're on the clock or before the draft starts on Friday.
Okay. And just for the record, not part of our 12 pack here, but of those QBs, who's going to fall?
Oh, that's a fun question. It doesn't even have to be a QB, but I always like to ask that every year to like draft experts, like who's one guy that's like, oh, he's going to go top 10, but somehow always slips out every single year.
Yep.
I guess
who's the guy in the green room that looks depressed and embarrassed and bored?
I would just say it's Will Levis, just like based off everything I've seen about him, like bombing interviews and people saying he's like immature. And then you have guys like Bucky Brooks, who has like actually spent time in like a front office in his career, and to have him be like, that dude's not going to go first round. I would say that Will Levis could be like that. I don't want to compare him to Aaron Rodgers, but like that dude that had always been projected to be top 10 and then ends up slipping to like the late first round or something.
So we're going down a rabbit hole here. But if he's there at 23, you still pass on him then?
No, I would ponder that strongly. I think there's lots of tools there. I think he can be a good QB, but I don't.
That's a sign right there.
I'd ponder it.
And the word ponder comes up, you might want to think twice. So, all right, guys, it'll be a fun one tomorrow night. We're less than 24 hours away. We should have a pretty good idea of what they did or what they're going to do. So we'll see how it plays out. In the meantime, Tanner, you better get back to that guy on those interest rates and maybe that Vikings related question as well. We'll see you guys again tomorrow.